Cutting electrical metallic tubing, polyvinyl chloride, and other types of conduit involves various methods and tools, each offering different advantages depending on the size and material. For smaller sizes of electrical metallic tubing, such as 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch, a common technique involves using a hacksaw. Begin by making 3 quick strokes on the top of the pipe to create a starting point. Then, use a utility knife to score the inside of the pipe at each of the 3 marks. The scoring helps to create a clean break. After scoring, place the pipe in a vise, aligning the score marks with the jaws of the vise. Bend the pipe at the score marks until it breaks. This method provides a relatively clean and controlled cut. Finally, use the utility knife to clean up any rough edges or burrs on the inside of the pipe, ensuring a smooth surface for wire pulling. For plastic pipes, including polyvinyl chloride, a hacksaw is also a suitable tool. The technique is similar to cutting electrical metallic tubing. Make smooth, even strokes with the hacksaw, ensuring that the blade remains perpendicular to the pipe. A utility knife can be used to clean up the edges after the cut. For larger sizes of electrical metallic tubing, such as 2 inch and larger, a sawzall with a metal blade is often preferred. A sawzall provides a faster and more efficient cutting method for larger diameter pipes. When cutting 2-inch pipe, it is recommended to clamp the pipe in a vise to provide stability and control. For larger pipes, clamping may not be necessary depending on the individual's experience and comfort level. In field situations, the choice of cutting tool often depends on what is available. If a hacksaw is available, it can be used for cutting electrical metallic tubing and polyvinyl chloride. If only conduit cutters or a utility knife are available, they can also be used, although the quality of the cut may not be as precise. For electrical metallic tubing, a 2-inch Klein handheld conduit cutter is a common tool. These cutters are designed specifically for cutting electrical metallic tubing and provide a relatively clean and efficient cut. For metal-clad cable, a utility knife is commonly used to score the outer jacket of the cable. Be careful not to damage the conductors inside the cable. For polyvinyl chloride, a utility knife can be used for making quick cuts, but for precise cuts, a hacksaw is recommended. The NEC or National Electrical Code does not specify particular methods for cutting conduit, but it does require that all cuts be made in a workmanlike manner, ensuring that the finished installation is safe and reliable. This means that the cut ends of the conduit should be free of burrs and sharp edges, and the conduit should be properly supported. Consider the 2008 NEC guidelines for supporting conduits and ensuring proper connections. When using a hacksaw, select a blade with the appropriate number of teeth per inch for the material being cut. A finer tooth blade is generally better for cutting metal, while a coarser tooth blade is better for cutting plastic. When using a sawzall, use a metal cutting blade with a sufficient number of teeth to prevent the blade from binding or chattering. Always wear appropriate safety glasses and gloves when cutting conduit to protect your eyes and hands from flying debris and sharp edges. When cutting conduit in a vise, ensure that the vise is securely mounted to a stable surface. This will help to prevent the vise from moving or tipping over during the cutting process. Avoid excessive force when cutting conduit. Let the tool do the work and maintain a steady, even pressure. If you are using a hacksaw, apply pressure on the forward stroke and release pressure on the return stroke. If you are using a sawzall, use a variable speed setting to control the cutting speed and prevent the blade from overheating. When cutting polyvinyl chloride, be aware that the material can become brittle in cold weather. To prevent cracking or breaking, warm the pipe slightly before cutting it. You can use a heat gun or a warm water bath to warm the pipe. When cutting electrical metallic tubing, be sure to ream the cut ends of the conduit to remove any burrs or sharp edges. A reaming tool is specifically designed for this purpose. Reaming the conduit will help to prevent damage to the wires when they are pulled through the conduit. When connecting sections of conduit, use the appropriate fittings for the type of conduit being used. Ensure that the fittings are properly tightened to provide a secure and watertight connection. Different types of conduit require different types of fittings. For example, electrical metallic tubing uses compression fittings or set screw fittings, while polyvinyl chloride uses solvent welded fittings. When installing conduit in wet locations, use watertight fittings and sealants to prevent water from entering the conduit. Water can damage the wires inside the conduit and create a shock hazard. When bending conduit, use a conduit bender that is designed for the size and type of conduit being bent. Follow the manufacturer's instructions for using the conduit bender. Bending conduit requires practice and skill. It is important to make accurate measurements and to bend the conduit to the correct angle. When running conduit through walls or floors, use appropriate sleeves or bushings to protect the conduit from damage. Sleeves and bushings will also help to prevent the conduit from rubbing against the edges of the opening. When supporting conduit, use appropriate hangers and supports. The NEC specifies the maximum spacing between conduit supports. The spacing requirements vary depending on the size and type of conduit. When grounding conduit, use appropriate grounding clamps and conductors. The NEC specifies the size of the grounding conductor that is required for different sizes of conduit. Proper grounding is essential for safety. It helps to prevent electrical shock and to protect electrical equipment from damage. Remember to always follow the NEC and local electrical codes when installing conduit. These codes are designed to ensure the safety and reliability of electrical installations. Consider consulting with a qualified electrician if you have any questions or concerns about installing conduit. Remember to always disconnect the power before working on any electrical equipment. This will help to prevent electrical shock. Always use appropriate personal protective equipment such as safety glasses, gloves, and hearing protection when working with power tools and electrical equipment. Regularly inspect your tools and equipment to ensure that they are in good working condition. Replace any damaged or worn tools immediately. By following these guidelines, you can safely and effectively cut and install conduit for a variety of electrical applications. Always prioritize safety and follow the applicable codes and regulations. Always double-check your work to ensure that it is correct and that it meets the required standards. And never hesitate to ask for help from a qualified electrician if you are unsure about any aspect of the installation. A thorough understanding of these techniques and safety precautions will enable you to perform conduit work with confidence and professionalism.